Okay, hey, we're up to 3-3, day 2, pre-lesson. Now this is piggybacking 3-3, day 1, which was finding the equation of lines. So that's still what we're doing. I'm going to take my teaching goggles off, and but there's a little extra twist. So again, day 2 is typically a little bit more complicated than day 1, but not much, just going to be a little different. Now, these two examples, I'm just going to do them and then make sense of it as we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these two equations, linear equations. Remember, they're linear if the powers are ones. If those are twos, you got a whole different graph, but that's not what this topic is. These are linear equations, which means we're graphing lines. Let's take what we've learned earlier and graph this. First thing we do is we graph the line-intercept. Now we're going to move the slope, which is always to be thought of as a fraction. So we go up 2, right 1. We're going to draw those in to the best of our ability. I'm going to do the same with this guy. So down 3, 1, 2, 3. And then the slope is still 2 over 1. You get that? The same slope. Up 2, right 1. Now my drawing's not perfect, but what do you notice? These lines are parallel. What do we know about parallel lines from geometry? They have the same slope. So, if you see that two lines, or if these problems just say two lines are parallel, you need to kind of peel back that clue and go, I know what they're saying. They have the same slope. Keep that in mind as we go into this next packet lesson, okay? Now how about this? Go ahead and take a peek. Go ahead and take a peek. Look at that slope and look at that slope. These are considered opposite because this is positive, that's negative, reciprocals. Opposite reciprocals. But let's go ahead and graph it. So I'm going to graph the line-intercept first. And I'm going to move the slope. So I go up 2, right 3, which would put me right about here. Try to do a pretty decent job drawing it. Do the same thing here. Line-intercept is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But from there, I need to go down 3. 1, 2, 3. Right 2. 1, 2. Now again, my drawing's probably not perfect, but it's pretty good. What do those lines look to be? Come on, put it in reverse. Think geometry. These lines are perpendicular lines, here it comes, have opposite reciprocal slope. So, problems today are going to start you off by saying, you've got an equation, and they might say like this. They might say, find the line that's perpendicular to that line, and as soon as you hear that, you go, aha, they're telling me the slope of the other line is -3/2. So you got to be able to decode the information, okay? So these are clues they're going to give you, but they're not going to spoon feed it to you. They're going to assume or expect you to know that parallel lines have the same slope, perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slope. Now, a little reminder before we get into the actual packet lesson. Little reminder, remember, vertical lines are always going to be x equals some number. What's that number? Well, it's where it crosses the x-axis. But what are we saying about vertical lines? They have no slope. Again, it's the ultimate irony in all of math, because if I'm thinking sledding or skiing, that is like a nightmare. It's got the most intense slope ever. But remember, where does no slope come from? There's no mathematical explanation because it's rise over run. And because there is no run, you have to put a 0 down there. And any number divided by 0 is mathematically inexplicable. So there's no mathematical explanation for it. That's where the word comes from. But the skiing tubing is where hopefully you guys are picking up on that. Horizontal line. What slope does a horizontal line have? Well, again, I put this in skiing or tubing in the wintertime. Up in Michigan, we have great winters. This has 0 slope. Memory tool, you're going to have 0 fun. Hope that works for you. But mathematically, remember this is rise over run. What's the rise? Well, from this random point to that random point, there is no rise. Run, sure. What's 0 divided by any number? 0. That's why we spell it out and say 0 slope. So remember those clues as we dive into this next section. Good luck.